If you want to make your own wedding decorations or decorations for other events, or just want to get your foot in a very lucrative market, here's a tutorial on how to design these table numbers using LightBurn. I already made a tutorial on how to make these bottle openers, which I used for place cards. Today I'll show you how to design these table numbers and menu holders. I did use my Acmer P3 to make these because on the back I wanted to engrave the names of the guests. And since my Acmer P3 has a camera, it was really easy to align the back of the cards. In the end, I did make some small adjustments to the card I'm about to show you how to design. And also, if you are interested in the Acmer P3, which is the same laser I used to engrave these, I dropped my affiliate link as well as a 15% discount code in the description. But let's get started. I am in LightBurn, and the design you can see on the top is from the bottle openers that I did for my uncle and aunt's wedding. I do have a tutorial on exactly how I made these. I even added in some free files which you can download. But in this video I will teach you how to make matching table cards and menus to go with the flowers my aunt and uncle picked out. I do want to make some arch-shaped designs, and I am Danish, so my measurements will be in millimeters, but I will show you how they convert in inches as well. So let's get to it. The first thing that I do recommend that you do is to go to Window. In Window you can choose between different view styles. If you have filled smooth, it will be perfect for showing your customer how the finished design looks like. But when you are designing, I find that wireframe smooth is way easier. You do want to use fill and cut layers, but if you are in the filled view style, it's not as easy to design as if you see it in lines. So the first thing you want to do is grab your rectangle tool up here, and we will start by making a rectangle. I want my table numbers to be A6 sized, and I want the menu to be A5. So A6 is around 10 by 15 centimeters. So I will just unlock my aspect ratio, and I will type in 150 millimeters in height and 100 millimeters in width. I will grab this one, move it over here, and I will right click, which I can't for some reason, so I will just use the short keys Control C or Command C, and I will copy and paste. I will make my menu card slightly larger. So for the menu card, I want it to be 20 centimeters in height, which is 200 millimeters, and I want it to be wider. So if I use a 5 size, that's 21 by 15, but I'll just make it 20 by 15 instead. Now I have a square for my table cards and for my menu card. The important thing when you are typing in these measurements is that you make sure that you can divide the number in two. That will make your life a whole lot easier. So in inches, my menu card will be almost 6 by 8, which is what I would recommend you typing in if you are in inches. And for the table numbers, it's about 4 by 6 inches, which again is what I would type in if I designed in inches. But I do design in millimeters, and the reason that I want to make it dividable with 2 is because now we are going to shape the arch, which is really simple. You just mark your square and you go down here to radius. The half of 100 millimeters is 50, so I want my radius to be 50. If I just click on these corners, it will shape my rectangle. So let's do the same on the menu over here. So this one was 15 centimeters in width, 150 millimeters, and half of that is 75. So again, I will click my radius tool and I will type in 75. Once I have typed in, I can mark my corner up here and mark the other corner. And now I have the perfect arch. Once you have your flowers positioned as you want them, or another design, you don't have to do flowers like I do, you want to group them together. So I will take these daisies and the impatiens and I will mark both of them. I'll then right click and I can group. The arch I'll be using to cut to shapes, so I will right click and duplicate my arch. I want to make sure that I am in a fill mode, and I'll show you on the big card why it is important. But once you have your flowers grouped, you click them, hold down Control or Command if you are on a Mac, and click the arch. Then you go to Tools, and here you can pick Cut Shapes. You could also use the short keys. What it will do is that it will cut everything outside the frame here. So now I can actually just hit backslash or delete and get rid of these. I do see that it did make a tiny little error here, so I'll just show you how to fix that. So I take my flower and I'll just use the keyboard arrows down and upwards and move it one step down. So these are what I want to get rid of. First of all, you have to ungroup everything. You might want to do it a couple of times. Now they are ungrouped. An easy way to remove these is to grab the scissor tool and you can just cut these away. Before I move it up, I want to make sure that all my flowers are grouped together again. So I will mark both of them and click group. Then I can use my page up arrow and move it back in place. So this is the table number card. So let's show you the menu. The menu is the same, but this time I want to show you what will happen if you set this to line instead of fill. So let's set this to line, and again I will group both of them. I will take my arch and I will duplicate it. I will click my flowers and go to, and mark the arch, and then I will go to Tools and hit Cut Shapes. So the same way I can just delete everything outside here, but if I move this down, you can see that the edges are not closed because it's set to line instead of fill. This is perfect if you are doing a line design or a scored design, but if you want to engrave it, you have to set this to fill. So let's just undo these steps and I will set it to fill instead. I'll again mark my flowers, click my arch, go to Tools, Cut Shapes, and now I can delete these. And if I move this down, you can see that all the edges are closed now. So this is the basic shapes, but I do want them to be able to stand on the table. For that I need to add in some tabs 2 or 1. I'll just do 1, but you can do as many as you want, and that's really simple as well. So again, I am going to pick my rectangle tool, and I'll just make a rectangle. It doesn't really matter about the height, because I'll show you a little extra pro tip on how you can easily resize your tabs. But the width is a little important, because that way it's easier to make the bottom. So I'll make my width 60 millimeters, which is 6 centimeters. Once it is 6 centimeters, I will click the square, hold down Control, click the arch, and I will go up here and align selected align selected objects along the vertical centers. So this is now perfectly aligned. Now I can take my arch and I can click this rectangle I just did. I can go over to the weld functions. My Boolean assist will appear. If you are using an older version of LightBurn, you might not have this exact panel, but to find your Boolean assistant, you can click Ctrl plus B or Command plus B, and this will appear. So the great thing about the Boolean assistant is that you can just hover over and find whatever function you want. Maybe you wanted to make a shape like this instead of welding together A or B like I am doing here. But this is what I want to use. So I'll just hit OK, and now I have my tab down below. The length of this tab needs to be the exact same length as the material you are intending to cut this in. I will be cutting this from 4mm poplar plywood. The way you resize this tab is really easy in LightBurn. First of all, you need to know how big this tab is now. So if you grab your rectangle tool and you just make sure that you click on the corner, it will snap directly if you have snap turned on. Then you just move it down the line and it will snap to the bottom line. So I do see that mine is 10mm in height now. I will be using 4mm poplar plywood, so it's really important that my tab is only 4mm in height. So I'll just delete this box and I will click my arch. Then you go to Tools, and down here you can find resize slots in selection. If I click those, I can type in that my old material thickness was 10mm and I want them to be 4. If I didn't have 4, I could just type it in. Now you can choose between adjusting the slot depth, the slot width, or the tab height. In my case, it is the tab height, and you can see it great illustrated by this blue line and an arrow up. If it was too small, it would make it larger in this direction instead. But let's hit OK. And now I have a 4mm tab down below. So let's repeat the process over here. I will create a rectangle, and again, I don't mind the size of it. I will click both and I will align them. I will hit Ctrl B, which will bring up my Boolean assistant, and I'll click weld together. So again, I will check the size of this tab that I built, which is 11 this time. So I'll just delete this little square and I'll mark my arch, go to Tool, resize slots in selection, and this time it was 11mm in height. I'll choose tab height, and you can see that it is now 4mm. Now I want to make a bottom plate which these can stand on, and there are a lot of options to which you can do that. I want mine to be a little wider than the actual cards. So the first thing I'll do is to create a rectangle and just snap it to the other corner here. Now I have a starting point. Just enlarge it a little. And now I want to figure out how big I want this to be. So I know that my card is 10 millimeters in width. I think I want 1 centimeter sticking out on each side. So I will make this 120, which is 12 centimeters in width. And for the height, I think I will go with 50 millimeters, 5 centimeters. So it has about 2.5 millimeters in each end. I still have to build in a little slot here. So I will again take my rectangle tool. I will snap to the corner up here, and I will make sure that it's snapping to the opposite corner. Now I have the perfect little slot. So you can see it is 6 millimeters by 4. If I just move it in here, it will actually find the center, and you can see it when this symbol appears. If you do have troubles finding the center, mark both and use this center button. I don't know if we should round these corners a little bit maybe. I think I will. So for this one, I don't want a big radius, maybe 5. Let's see. So again, I'll just click the corners, and now they are a little more rounded. So now I have the bottom for my table numbers. I'll just weld them together. And now I want to do the same over here. So I'll start with the rectangle, and I'll see if I can place it to the corner, and then I will just drag it out. This made a line instead. Let's try it again. I can also just do it the opposite direction like this and just move it down. So this card is 15 millimeters, and again I want a centimeter to each side, so I will do 17 centimeters instead, and I want the height to be the same, which was 50. And again I do want to make the little slot opening, so I will pick the rectangle tool and just snap it to the corners. And I now have a slot opening that is 103. It's only supposed to be 100, but that's okay. And it is 4 millimeters thick. The height on these should be the exact same measurements as your wood for it to be able to fit together. And again, I want to round these corners, so I'll click my radius tool, and I'll just round them by clicking in each corner like that. So now my bases are ready to cut. I do want to add in some text, and if I ungroup this one, I want to keep the same font. So this font is called, let's move this a little wider, Edwardian script. So I will click my text box here, and I can type in table, and I will just scale it up like that. And if I hold down Control and click the arch, I can make sure that they are aligned like that. I'll turn it red for my engraved layer. And now I could either engrave the letter or I could layer the letter, which is what I will do. So again, I will type in a text and I'll make number 1. But I do want to pick another font since this isn't as pretty in numbers. So I will mark my number and I'll go up. And let's see. I actually think I'll go with Dubai medium maybe. And scale it down a little. And again, I want to align it So now I have my table 1. I do want to cut this number, so I will copy, paste it down here, turn it black, and to be able to align it perfectly, I will make an inward offset. So the way you do that is to go to this little circle thing, offset shapes, and in offset shapes you can pick between an outward direction, inward, or both. For a scored indication on where you're going to layer your pieces, you do want to make an inward offset. I don't know, you can pick between round or corner, but in this case it doesn't really matter. For the inward offsets, I usually do either 1 or 0.5. If you do want to make a 0.5, you just click 0 here and make a 0.50. But if you aren't great at aligning, it might be better to make it 1. The reason that you are doing this is so you are sure you will be placing your number exactly where it is supposed to be. Once you're done, you can either delete original objects or just save them if you haven't copied them already. I did already move my number, so I'll just delete the original. And now I have my inward offset. For scoring, I always use blue in color, so this is how my table number 1 will look like. And I can then copy and paste, and now I can make table 2, 4, 5, etc. For the menu, I still want the same font, so I'll just click it, and if you click a font and it registers the font name, it will grab that font name and use that for the next project. So I will type in drink menu, and the cool thing about this is that you can actually go up here and you can toggle these buttons on H space and V space. So if I were to make this more compressed, I would make an H space below these numbers, but I could also move them wider apart if I wanted. Since this is a cursive font, I will keep it at 0. But in V space you can actually move your lines closer together. I do want to keep a little space between mine, but let's show you if it was at 0, they would be way apart. So let's move them closer together like this. And if I want to place them a little offside, I can just use my space key on my keyboard. So let's make this red, and I do want this one to be in the corner. I haven't received the drinks yet, but the way I would do, I would use the Dubai font for this, I think. So create text over here, and I will just type in gin tonic as example. You probably did see the finished drinks already in the beginning of this video, but I would just type in whatever drinks they wanted here. I would probably change this font to Dubai, where is it? Dubai Light instead. Maybe I even changed it entirely. I don't know yet. But this one, I do want to make the H space a little smaller because I want them to be closer together. Now that I have this one, I can just type in some more. I can duplicate this and just move it down. Let's type in 3 and whoops, maybe duplicate it again and type in whiskey. And once you have all your drinks, you can mark all 3 of them, and you can go to align selected objects along left edges. So now they are aligned. And I do see that I probably have to make the 8 space a little bigger on these two. I think I will do it on all of them. So 3 and 3. And now I can mark all of them and just position them where I want them to be. So that's pretty much it, you guys. I can probably guarantee you that these weren't the finished examples, because I am going to send these to the bride and groom now and ask them what they think. But basically, that is how you design table cards and drink menus. Thank you so much for watching. If you do want to get more LightBurn tutorials, please drop a comment below on what you would like me to teach you. I love making tutorials, but I'm not always sure what you want to learn. So in case there is a LightBurn tips or a tutorial that you are missing, please drop a comment below. Also comment on what you thought about this project. Maybe you would want to do something differently than I did. Anyways, I always love to talk to you and make new videos for you. I do have a lot of tutorials in LightBurn, so make sure you check those out. And I will see you soon.